Dalen Zartman is a 20-year-old career veteran of fire and rescue operations. He is the founder of Rescue Methods, LLC, and he has been following this developing story with us tonight. And Dalen, we appreciate you coming on. The technical rescue side of this, we're hearing they are just inches away and they're now manually piecing their way through this dirt, trying to get to this little boy. Talk to me about how delicate this last final stage is.
Yeah, the election to create a horizontal pathway to the victim through earthen, or what we would call trench excavation and trench rescue-based applications, is really dangerous. It's one of the most high-risk applications you could make. What a lot of watchers might not understand is that as you progress through the soil, you have to have a very technical awareness of the soil composition and how readily available it is going to be to secondary collapse. So every movement, every vibration, every shift in those soil walls as they tunnel and progress towards this young man can cause secondary collapses. And I mean, those can be so large scale that they could entomb every single rescuer in the operating sequence. So that's going to require supplemental shoring, which is basically engineered systems within that trench pathway to try and support the walls, the ceilings, and the floor, and create as safe of a progression as you can.
Is this the best way to get him? I mean, based on what you're seeing right now, digging this one tunnel and then horizontally going over, is there any other way to do it?
You know, you always have to kind of put all your options on the table, and there's a lot of very, very technical and capable people there on scene. You can see visibly from the diameter of the well, it's incredibly confining, would be a very, very challenging vertical rescue. So I'm sure they've conducted reasonable soil assessments, and, you know, based on the options that they have, you can see they brought a lot of resources in to help move earth, support the operation of an effective trenching sequence, and they seem to be progressing through it well. They haven't had any secondary shifts that we know of yet. So our fingers are crossed for them. Yeah,
they're worried about landslides. The other thing, Dalen, is they've sent some water, some food down. They don't know if he's been able to eat or drink, oxygen as well. I wondered, can they communicate with him? Can they talk to him? Can he hear his mom's voice?
Yeah, you know, without being on scene, I'm not certain, but we have a lot of available technologies that allow us to basically put speaker boxes in close proximity to the victims so that we can comfort them, reassure them, try and keep a gauge verbally on how their condition is. You know, we can tell a lot by how a victim is doing, by how they respond to questions. And obviously the clock is ticking for this child. I mean, children react very well, you know, for a period of time to difficult circumstances physiologically, and then all of a sudden, their body stops responding or adapting to that. So there's definitely a window of time to get to him, make sure they sustain what he needs to, you know, stay warm, avoid hypothermia, stay hydrated. The clock is ticking, and we are all praying and keeping our fingers crossed for these guys.
Well, and the other thing, Dalen, is once they get to him, all these challenges that you're talking about, then they've got to get him out. Do they go back out the way they came? And what are the challenges with that?
Yeah, based on the fact that they did not elect to do a vertical rescue to gain access to them, the assumption is that they're going to pull them out laterally, the same way that the rescuers predominantly came in. And if they've properly shored that avenue up and put the right engineering components in, that would most likely be his safest way out of that area.
Based on what you're seeing right now, and I know it's difficult not being there, but given that they're so close, they're saying inches away, they are still hearing and seeing signs of life. How soon do you think they'll get to him and this will start to shift and they'll get him out?
Yeah, I mean, it could be minutes. I don't know how much soil they're digging through, but a lot of people don't understand, you know, 1 cubic foot of soil can weigh 150 pounds. Soil is very, very dense, very heavy. So as they're working through that, it takes a lot of physical labor, and it takes a lot of, you know, assembly chain basically to relocate that soil as they're trying to move it away from the access point to the young man.
How about the onlookers? There are so many people there. I mean, thousands of people that are standing nearby. Is that helpful? Does that hinder the work that they're trying to do?
You know, surprisingly, I think that you get, as a rescuer, you'll get very tunnel visioned about the task at hand and go about your business. As you step away from being directly involved in the rescue, then the added stressor of those pieces can be very intense, particularly when you see the impact that it has on family members and loved ones. That always makes it harder as a rescuer when you see the emotional effect of those that care about the individual that you're trying to accomplish a rescue for.
Yeah. And not to mention the exhaustion that the rescuers must be feeling. I mean, we're 72 hours into this. Do they work in shifts? I mean, certainly the two guys that are down there within inches, there's no break for them.
Yeah, no, they'll have parameters of work times on the rescuers most likely. That'll depend on the atmospheric conditions in the space, whether or not they're on supplied or not on supplied air. They'll analyze those work conditions and try and rotate workers through to make sure they're optimizing their efficiency while they're in the space.
You do this all over the world. How common are these types of incidents when you've got children falling in wells? I mean, Jessica's the one we remember, but does it happen more often than we realize?
You know, I think these are relatively unique, but the exposure level of media today brings them front and center every time they occur. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were watching all this unveil in Thailand with the 14 young men in the cave system and all the divers applying those efforts to get to those children as well. So fortunately, this doesn't happen every day. That's a blessing that it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right that within minutes we can break in and say that he's been safely rescued and he's headed to the surface. Dalen Zartman, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for all your insight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.